Everyone I know is sad. We get told to smile a lot. It doesn't make us feel happy. We don't feel excitement and we cry often, but usually only when we are alone in our beds or with the water streaming down our bodies in hot rivulets mixing with our salty tears. We have a lot of reasons for being sad. We try to make the best of them. We say it isn't fair, and the world tells us that life isn't fair. These are stories, reasons for sadness and anger, from my friends and I. To protect everyone who participated, I left off names and everything is written in first person. Please listen to these stories and to the stories others tell. Unwanted sexual attention is a common denominator between every female I know. As I leave a bar, a guy jumps in front of my bike. "Let me give you a ride home," he says. I say no. He asks again. "Come on, I have a car." "I'm fine," I say. "Can I have your number?" he asks as I start to pedal. "No," I yell back. "Your Snapchat?" he yells again at my back. "No," I say more forcefully. "You're such a cold bitch," he yells. I'm shaking. I'm so mad. I try to call my partner, but they don't pick up. I bike home, mad as hell, and a little bit scared. It's difficult to tell a story about a time that a man made me feel uncomfortable. It's not difficult because I get upset when I talk about it. It's not difficult when I think about it. It's difficult because it happens so often that it's hard to remember one that stands out as being the worst. Being a woman in an overly sexualized world, I think about every article of clothing that I wear and the attention that it draws. I think about where my hand placement is when I'm dancing, so if I need to push someone away, it's easy to do so. I have to watch out for my friends every time we go out. Today I walked 3 blocks to the bus stop and had 4 cars of middle-aged men slow down and catcall me. One man pulled directly in front of the bus stop, parked his car, and got out to tell me how fine I was, before calling me a bitch for not responding and driving away. Men need to do better. As I've grown into a woman, I've attracted unwanted sexual attention from men. Some of these uncomfortable experiences I can laugh off, but others make me feel unsafe. I moved into my own apartment as a teenager and expected my biggest struggles to be rent and utilities, not the advances of neighbors twice my age. One of these experiences included him cornering me in a dark alley. At first, he questioned me about why I had rearranged my furniture, which made me feel like I had no privacy in my own home. With every sentence, he got a little bit closer, and each time I took a step back until my back was up against my garage. He pulled out his phone to show me a picture of his motorcycle. The first thing I saw was a photo of his exposed body. I looked away and pretended I didn't see anything to avoid making him feel embarrassed. It wasn't until I was back in my apartment when I realized this interaction was most likely premeditated on his end, making me sick to my stomach and hoping I'd never have to experience something like that again. I've experienced a lot of sexual harassment during my daily commute using public transit. From lewd comments to violations of my personal space, I am on pretty high alert while riding the bus. What's funny to me is that almost every time I've experienced an incident like this, where someone has sat too close to me, commented on my body, or just generally imposed upon me while I'm simply trying to get home from work, I'm met with disdain when I don't comply. If I ignore a man's compliment, I get called a cold bitch. If I get up and move because I feel uncomfortable, I'm yelled at as I leave, or worse, followed. One man even pulled my headphones out of my ears when I was trying to pretend I couldn't hear him ask me where I was headed that night. I could hear him asking because I'm usually not listening to music, even when I have my headphones in. It makes me feel unsafe to not be aware of my surroundings. I've heard similar things from my friends. They've been told not to go running with both earbuds in, or to make sure they aren't staring at their phones while walking at night. There are so many small pleasures in life that women have to enjoy with a heavy dose of anxiety on the side. I still enjoy taking the bus most days, but I definitely never feel at ease. Sometimes it's subtle. It's just a dance, or don't take this the wrong way. But mostly it's been blatant and ridiculous. In Portland, on the bus, when I was 16, sitting next to my mother, and a man asked me if I could be his sugar baby. In Bastille, squirming away from random hands, it's universal and it's embarrassing. When I was 17 and my sister was 12, we were walking around our mom's hometown. I got catcalled. She looked at me and said, "You're so pretty. I wish guys did that to me." And it sucks that we grow up thinking that way, that we're only valuable if we're beautiful enough to be invalidated. My friends and I decided to have a wine and cheese night on a summer evening at one of our flats. We wanted it to be the full shebang, so we dressed up and I chose to wear a sundress. As the night progressed, my friends and I decided that we wanted to go downtown, which was not the original plan, and met up with some of our other friends. It was a Saturday night, so naturally it was very crowded and busy downtown. I soon regretted wearing a sundress, however, because I received a lot of unwanted sexual attention that night. The first time it happened, the person who groped me reached up under my dress and cupped my ass while we were dancing. When I turned around to see who just reached up my dress, the person had already disappeared into the crowd. We decided to leave for the next meetup, and along the way, I hopped on one of my friends' backs for a piggyback ride. Before I knew it, some random stranger ran across the street, reached up my dress, and with both hands squeezed my ass. At least with this person, my friend and I were able to yell at him as he ran off. Finally, the one that topped the night off, as we were walking home together, one of my male friends thought it would be funny to lift up my dress while his other male friend smacked my ass. This all happened in one night. One night. On an international trip to Southeast Asia, I was prepared for stares and comments, but found myself utterly unprepared for one specific encounter with a drunk Cambodian man. As I walked toward our car, I felt a hand wrap around my cheek in an intimate way that strangers never should. It took me a moment to fully comprehend what was happening, and by that time, the man had followed us to the car, incoherently announcing, "I love her." All of this was jarring, but I was most shocked by the fact that the police officer who witnessed the encounter simply stood by the door of the vehicle while the drunk man tried to follow me into the car, failing to do much more than watch. I was confident that I was never in any serious danger, since I was surrounded by a protective group of friends, but the experience still shook me. As I processed it all, I found myself heartbroken by the realization that daily women experience dehumanizing abuse and attention far more severe than what I could imagine. The most obnoxious moments of unwanted attention for me have come while I am working. I think the worst it ever got was at a small venue concert I was photographing. A man had been watching me moving around the venue all night. It wasn't super crowded, so it was obvious that he was staring at me whenever I walked across the floor or moved to get a new angle. Between sets, I was sitting on a bench by myself looking at my phone, obviously in my own world, and this man sits down on the bench next to me and asks if I am working. I say yes. He asks if someone is paying me. I say yes. He asks if I ever get drinks with people while at work. I say no, because I am working. He then leans in way too close and grabs my camera right out of my hands. I sort of exclaim and ask him what he is doing, and he just says he wants to see my shots. For some reason, I then help him navigate the camera to see my photos. I'm not sure why I did that instead of just taking the camera back. After scrolling through my images for a minute, he hands the camera back and it proceeds to explain to me that I would get brighter images if I lowered the shutter speed, and offered to give me photography tips over drinks. I say no, that I'm working. He tells me drinks would be working since he is giving me tips. He keeps moving closer to me on the bench as I move away. It's like a scene from a sitcom. At this point, I cut him off and say I'm not interested, stand up, and walk off. As I walk away, I hear him call me a bitch. I am a child. I am a storm. The gaze crushes me like a can under a boot. I shrivel, as if crossing my arms over my chest and staying still will dissolve me into the nearest wall. I want to dance and not think twice about it, but I am outside my body, watching it from across the room, predatory from behind the cloak of a shadowed silhouette. I think of all the times my movement has been mused over. The ease of motion, the comfort in my own body is not for anybody's entertainment. Don't get caught in a doorframe. They might trap you there, call you a bitch for not talking to them, and slip something in your drink because they never cared what you had to say in the first place. Trauma is cardiac confinement, a prison made from body, mind, and memory. An unexpected accidental brush to my side, someone's ghosts of the past, hands grabbing at my hips and my insides, gutting my womb. Flashbacks forge another's undesired touch. In every lover, eventually I face a monster, through flames I stoked in my own eyes. Smoke and mirrors disorient and disassociate. I try to keep an open heart, with my scar tissue sprawling over like an overgrown garden. Everyone I know is sad. We are tangled, confused, and anxious. We are stressed and insecure. We want the innocence back, the innocence we never consented to lose. The world is harming us every day, and all we can do is sympathize. Thank you for listening to these stories.